Did you, when you saw that message, did you realize straight away it was true, or did you think he's just saying it trying to get attention or something like that?
I knew it was true. I didn't know. So I only read the first line, because the first line basically said, if you're reading this, I've made that decision. And Geoffrey wasn't home. He was at Minnesota. So I was home by myself. And I just screamed. I was surprised that all my neighbors didn't come out and hear me.
Welcome back to Between the Lines. This episode is going to be intense. It's going to be heavy. We're going to talk about suicide. We're going to talk about grief, mental health challenges, and how a family moves on from such a tragedy. First of all, just a trigger warning. Some of the themes that are going to be discussed are going to be extremely sensitive. Jenny and Geoffrey, thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to Between the Lines.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
I think we should start off by saying that we're not just talking about suicide. We're talking about people. We're talking about a person. We're talking about Motti, your son.
Absolutely.
So I think we should start off just like, let's learn about, like, tell me about Motti.
Motti was a inquisitive child, shall we say. He was from a very young age, very bright, was reading by 2.5. He was just, to me, he was a complete, like, I had this child that firstborn, and you think this is normal. It's not normal behavior. A child who's picking up a book at 2.5 and all of a sudden he's reading full sentences. But he was really sweet and caring and
Funny.
Yeah, really funny.
Yeah. By nursery, he was the teacher would ask him to read to the class. So he was reading the stories to the class in nursery.
Very bright, a bright
super
child.
Bright. He was super bright, but he was talented and he was funny. He was sort of an all-rounder. He wasn't particularly sporty, but he wasn't a nerd at any point. He was just a lot of fun to be with, but he was an adult before his time.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
Always was much happier in adults' company than with kids. Like, he could sit and have a conversation, sit at the Shabbos table with all the adults, and he was 5.
Yeah,
Remember, one time we were in Florida, he must have been, 3 or 4, and he wanted to go home with one of the young girls from shul, and it happens to be friends of my parents, and they said, do you mind if Motti comes with us? And I said, if he wants to, you're more than welcome to have him. And he went to their house and sat and had lunch with them. And when they all went to bench, he told them all to be quiet because it was benching time. And,
really?
But he was not 5 yet. And that's not a normal,
He had a very mature personality for a very young age.
Yeah.
Yeah, too.
And in primary school, he was happy generally.
He did very well in primary school.
Primary school, he did really well. Yeah, he thrived.
Very
He was a little bit chutzpahdik sometimes. He once told the teacher that she put something on the board and he said, you've spelt that wrong. And she said, no, I haven't. And he said, yes, you have. And he got up and he walked to the other side of the room where there was a dictionary and he looked it up in the dictionary and he showed it to her. We were mortified. Really? It was hugely embarrassing.
But he was right.
He was right. He was absolutely right. It was embarrassing. It was very chutzpahdik. So if you're watching, I apologize.
Because you've got a really, really, a really bright son.
Yeah.
And everything goes really nicely and smoothly in primary school.
Yeah.
And then...
Yeah, there were minor things which were different about him. He didn't like going to parties. So from a young age, he didn't particularly like going to birthday parties, but
on his own. But if we were there, he was fine.
He was fine. He didn't like, as a baby, he didn't like the wind in his face, but you'd sort of almost get a little bit anxious with the wind in his face, but nothing noticeable at all.
These were all things at the time, like the crying at parties and stuff like that. You kind of think, okay, so that's a kid. Like, kids go through their issues, 100%. And a kid doesn't like going to a birthday party, but you encourage and you say, no, Motti, come, I'll take you, I'll sit with you, I'll leave, I'll come back, and you just do the thing. The same with the wind. We would put his jacket over his face. We tried to like do all the little things that you think as parents, you're like kind of guiding your child just to get through the next.
Yes, yeah.
You know,
and also there was nothing alarming about any of those things.
No, not at all.
He was sort of, he had friends, he was popular.
He was sociable.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Especially in primary school.
Yeah.
Primary school, everyone loved him. He wanted. I mean, I've got home videos of all the birthday parties, and his birthday party, everyone came. It was, thank God. I mean, it was very normal.
Pretty plain sailing, really.
Pretty plain sailing.
Yeah. In fact, many people after he passed away, so many people from his primary school still felt a close connection to him and had fond memories, and a lot of his teachers came and were telling us stories about him, and some of his friends came from primary school who weren't with him necessarily later. So he'd certainly made an impression. And
Yes. Okay, so he leaves primary school, goes into secondary school, and again he sort of settles in nicely.
Reasonably well.
At the beginning.
At the beginning. Yeah, I think he found it a challenge that suddenly he was up against many more bright people. So he had one or two he was at Noam as a primary school, and he had a few people who were sort of with him. I don't think she'll mind me saying one of them was Meira Cowland, who's
the official Meira.
The official Meira. They were good friends. She was in London for a few years, and they were in class together. And she said, they were good intellectual rivals, and they had a good time in school, bantering and sort of standing up to each other. Who was going to get?
Did he like to be the top? In terms of
he liked the challenge.
He loved to be the top. He loved to be the center of attention. He loved, he loved a challenge. The
challenge was more than the actual, I'm going to get there, but it's the challenge of, let's see who's actually going to do better. Yeah.
So why didn't he like the challenge? Like when he got into secondary school and those more clever, sort of brighter kids?
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't really know. It's a fair question. Maybe it was just more, and maybe he was struggling to be right at the top. Maybe he was sort of coming a few degrees below, coming sort of in the top 10%, and maybe that wasn't good enough for him. I don't know. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think he did suffer from a bit of perfectionism, that everything had to be perfect and it had to be thing. And if you couldn't be the top, then what was the point kind of thing.
Yeah.
So when it came to, he was in all the top sets and he did very well and all of that. I don't think that should have been an issue, but it was.
For sure that could have been.
Yeah, it was it was the perfectionism.
Yes,
Motti was.
Second is.
Yeah.
Why bother participating?
Loser.
Yeah. Motti was very much black and white. There was very little gray when it came to what once we started. I could see growing after bar mitzvah and that sort of thing. Because year 7, he was still the same. Like at Noam, he was like kind of. I guess year 7, they're always finding their way in school, right? Because
it's a hard transition.
They're all new. They're all trying to find the way. And I think after bar mitzvah was when we really started seeing more signs of things. That we didn't really like.
Even before his bar mitzvah, he was incredible at his bar mitzvah, but we sort of had this nervousness.
That he would, he'd walk out.
We always said that we had discussed between us that he was the sort of kid that could decide on the day, I'm not laning.
Yeah.
And why? I'm not bothering.
So a very strong character.
Well, even in primary school, because we had an incident. It was a Noam dinner, and they were singing. And they were requested to wear a certain item of clothing that he refused.
Pom-pom socks.
Pom-pom socks.
He said, he was going to be about the street cred.
Correct.
I am not.
The choir master had not told them about this. And they'd been practicing the whole day and they were exhausted. And then half an hour before the performance, he pulls out his old pom-pom socks that he used to dress up his old choir kids from. And they had pom-poms on. And Motti said, no way. I'm not dressing like a girl.
And he had a stunning voice, and he had a beautiful solo. And the guy said, if you don't put them on, you're not singing. And Motti said, fine, I'm not singing.
Oh, wow. So you can see.
That was
and we were called out the dinner.
I was hysterical. I was crying.
We were called out the dinner to find the two of them screaming at each other. A 60-year-old man.
He's a year 6 with a year 6 boy.
10-year-old boy.
He was not having any of it. And we're like, Motti, apologize. Say you'll do it. No. And eventually we did get him to say, like, sorry, kind of thing. But then the choir master wouldn't Like, we're like,
No, then he said no. He said, I'm not. He's not coming into the choir. He said because he misbehaved. And so eventually he said, a few teachers came and said you can't do that. So eventually he said, all right, you can. And then Motti said, no, if he doesn't want me, I'm not going in.
Yeah,
and he refused.
That was
it.
it.
So he practiced for weeks and weeks and weeks, and he did not go.
refused.
The joke was, of course, that they'd pulled in some of the fathers. So I was in the school choir, but he wasn't. So I had to go on.
But that was him.
that was him.
If he didn't like it and he wasn't there was no swaying. Like that was it. That was it. And so, he did have that. But again, kids have a stubborn streak.
Sort of just a bit all or nothing, a bit black and white, as you're saying.
Exactly.
So but the bar mitzvah passed uneventfully.
Uneventfully, beautifully. Yeah, he did everything he was meant to do, and
he said he actually gave his drosha with PowerPoint.
Oh, really?
So he was at 13, and we did. I wrote a drosha for him, and I said, "Come on, let's do something a little bit different." So we designed a PowerPoint. He actually designed most of it, and he literally gave it as a lecture. It was Hasmo Boys, so we had it connected up to the projector, and he was speaking and moving the projector at the same time, and it was seamless.
people still tell me they remember
it was incredible.
Wow.
People still come over to me and say, "I remember Motti's bar mitzvah center because it was visual. We could see it." Yeah, he was. That was him. That was
he was a bit quirky.
Yeah, a bit out of the box, slightly out of the box.
Absolutely. And he wasn't ashamed to be out the box.
Yeah.
He loved it. It was him.
Right.
Yeah. He was
Okay, so that's going nice. You've got a here and there, you've got something to sort of smoothen out, but generally, when do you remember that things started feeling that this is not quite right?
So I remember going to school at the end of year 9. It was parent evening. And I went and said, my son's really unhappy. There's something not sitting right. Please help me. And they said, leave it with us. And I feel that was a mistake, a big mistake, that I trusted. And I said, fine, I trust you. I'll leave it with you.
But you felt we need to do something.
He was unhappy.
He was
we
unhappy.
don't know what. We didn't know.
He wasn't
question. Expressing too much, but we could see that there was something that wasn't sitting right with him. And
he already started growing his hair, I think, by then.
A little bit. He wasn't, a little bit.
He was refusing. He said, I don't need to have my hair cut too short.
Yeah.
He said, I'll just grow it a little bit.
Yeah. And I said, please help. And
they promised and
it
just got left.
Look, it's not.
It fell through the cracks, which happens. I get it.
Yeah.
It's not something that
we don't blame them.
No, I claim no blame.
There was many things many factors which contributed to the way he was. We had a home life, there was a school life, himself. So many things.
Yeah.
And then, so soon after that, he became a school refuser. So he stopped going to school. And it's not like your 5-year-old that you can grab and put in the car and put the seatbelt on. He's bigger than me, and we couldn't force him to go to school.
Yeah.
So that's quite a big step. He went from sort of being there and then suddenly...
Yeah, it was gradual. So he would stop going, he said, I wasn't feeling well.
Yeah, wasn't feeling well.
And then he would go less. And then I think that's for about a term, sort of the summer term. And then the next school year, he just said, I'm not going.
He just stopped. Yeah.
I'm not going.
So how must you have felt then? Because you're a bit powerless. What on earth are you meant to do?
Powerless and very, very frustrating because we had no support. There was no help. You went to the school, please help me get my child into school. I'm sorry, we don't have protocol for that.
Yeah. He was one of the first school refusers.
Yeah, we don't have
many have taken after him.
Yes.
We don't have protocol for that. We called the truancy officers. Please help us get your child. Where is your child? He's in his room in bed. Oh, he's safe. Okay.
Yeah, and in
safe.
fact, a couple of times the truancy officers made appointments to come and visit and didn't turn up. So Motti said, "Well, if they're not turning up, I'm not turning
up." The
truancy
officer is playing truant, then
why should
a bit of a problem.
Why should I? And that's what we said. And we really, there were so many things that we were struggling with because it was not only was he not going to school, but then he wasn't socializing, and he wasn't, and he was stuck in his room, and we were really nervous about him just cutting himself off.
What was he doing in his room? A lot of the time the door was shut, and it was obviously very worrying, very concerning.
You're not getting a tremendous amount of support because no one really probably knows what what
No
they're meant to
support.
do.
Right.
So you're sort of
Correct.
trying to figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's all trial and error because we have no idea where else to turn. You know?
And then we tried different things. So I said I signed up for courses for him to do GCSEs online with people who were being homeschooled. So we tried to switch it to that sort of that type of environment. He didn't really engage with that. He said, I'm not wasting my time. He said, I'm teaching myself the ukulele. He was very musical. So he literally taught himself the ukulele from scratch. We bought that for him. And for years, for about 5 years, 6 years, it did not leave his side.
It was like his
everywhere.
It was like his security blanket.
Yeah.
Managed to secure everywhere we went. That ukulele came with.
Yeah, but he was great. He really, because he'd learnt the piano and then he played the piano by ear, and then he transferred that to the ukulele, which I said learn the guitar because that was a path that I'd taken, and he said that guitar is totally uncool. It needs to be the ukulele.
Yes, yeah.
So it was fun. So he learnt that, and he also learnt the whole Adobe suite. I managed to get him a student subscription to Adobe, and he taught himself the whole suite. And that actually was the start of his love for graphic design, which is what he went on to do.
That was his career.
Yeah.
So he's in his room.
He's in his room. 18 months.
And did like any teachers, rebels try and, encourage him to come out or?
Yeah, so we did have some about him that tried to help, but he was hesitant. He was very, he didn't want. He wasn't sure. We were sending him to a therapist, but she wasn't a therapist.
She was a counselor.
She was a counselor more than a therapist. And we would go
Lovely
with him.
person.
Yeah, really nice lady. And we would go with him once a week. I'd sit outside. I'd wait, for him to have the session. And it was, and we did that for a good year. I mean,
And he had some people who came. One of his teachers would come and bring his lunch from Hasmo. He would just bring his own lunch and bring something for Motti.
Yeah,
and
sit in our dining room table and
sit
say,
at our
I'm
dining
here.
table, say, tell Motti I'm eating my lunch. If he wants to come and join me, I'd love to see him. And that was so special. Really, really.
Did he ever go down?
Heartwarming.
Not really.
I think once or twice.
Once.
Once.
Did he ever say like why he didn't want to go to school, or just became fixed in his mind? I'm not.
So certainly religion was part of it.
Yeah.
Because he was clearly becoming less religious. And he, again, Jenny said black and white. So he didn't like this halfway hypocrisy. He was very into not being...
if I can't do all the mitzvahs, I'm not going to do any of the mitzvahs.
No, really. So
Right?
Yeah.
So we, as firm Jews, we know we take what we can and we do what we can and we strive
We
always
try.
to do better.
Correct, we
Yeah,
tried,
right.
we aimed.
But
he-
that didn't
he
work
could
for
be
him.
over
No,
that.
that wouldn't work for him.
And if he would see people who were doing some things like all of us do, some things well and some things less well, that bothered him intensely.
Yeah, because you're not being fully
Committed.
authentic
Yeah.
or
Correct.
genuine.
But
or
that's what he saw. He saw
he,
someone.
he respected people that were fully committed. He says it's not for me, but if that's what they want to do, but at least they're doing what they say they're doing. If not, it was all or nothing,
yeah.
and that was
Yeah.
it.
And so he told us later, he said that he started studying all different religions. It was a little bit like, HaKadosh Baruch Hu going around before Sinai to ask them if they wanted the Torah. So he did that for himself with every religion. And he said, none of them. He said, it's not like I want to be something else. He said, none of them are for me. He said, I don't believe in any of them. And so I'm just,
How do you, like at
checking
that
out.
point, like how, when just hearing those words, even as you're just like
I
repeating
found
it,
it very
how do
difficult.
you sort of cope with
broke
those
my
It was
words?
heart.
incredibly painful. It
Broke my heart.
Yeah. And we tried, and we had conversations with him, and we were lost ourselves.
Yeah, because you
lost
can't
ourselves.
force someone to believe. You just can't do it. And
Not a
as much-
character like Motti anyway. It sounds
No,
like.
and you can't force it. And we were heartbroken because I think we felt very much, and I still do, that we raised our family in a firm home, not being hypocrites, because we say we do what we can, and on the outside, what we are on the outside, we are on the inside, and I think that's what was I was very brokenhearted about that.
And I also tried to say we weren't forcing one particular type of Yiddishkeit down his throat.
No.
I mean, if he wanted to be a little bit more to the left, a little bit more to the right, our other two kids are different to
Have
each
found
other.
their way.
And have
Yes,
found their
yes,
path,
yeah.
and that was fine.
It wasn't like a suppressing intense.
No, not at all.
Correct,
Not at all.
correct. But
Not at all.
he just couldn't cope with it at all. And in the end, we spoke to a number of people. We spoke to counsellors and we spoke to Rabbanim, one of which I think, your very kind father-in-law gave me an hour or so of his time for no good reason apart from just doing a chesed. And he said, for the moment, keep connection. Keep the connection, keep the connection, keep the connection.
And that's
And
what
that
we
really
did
is your
throughout.
top priority.
Very easy said, easier than
Yeah.
just
But
see it in your face.
Correct.
We
correct.
made, I think we made that conscious effort. And he did as well. Give him the credit that he
Yes.
he always wanted to be part of us.
Yeah.
Religion, forget. Everything else, forget. I don't care. But family was family.
Yeah, we clashed on many things. We clashed on many things on what we thought was acceptable, what he didn't think was acceptable. But in terms of deep down wanting to be connected to us and to his siblings and to his grandparents, absolutely. That never left
He
him.
never cut us off. He never said, you guys want to be religious? That's your problem. Just leave me alone. And then he never did that. He never, and I think that to his credit, because a lot of kids can do it. A lot of kids
course,
cut
of
their
course.
parents out of their lives.
But maybe it's also the way, yes, you clash, but he knew it was coming from a place where it's not the...
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
But was there like periods of time where sometimes you sort of, okay, we're not going to say anything and we're just going to sort of bite our lip, and other times, no, this is not acceptable.
I think when he was, especially when he was living under our roof, there were certain rules, like, when he stopped keeping Shabbos, let's say, and he wanted to go to friends, and he ended up to backtrack a little bit, he was home for 18 months, but then he ended up in a non-Jewish school. So once he ended up in that non-Jewish school, he made some friends and he wanted to go to them. So we had rules, that if you want to go, you cannot drive out of our house on Shabbos. You cannot do those sort of things. If you want to go, you can go before Shabbos and then be there for the weekend. I don't care what you do. I'm not interested. I don't need to know. And even when he would come and visit us, keep the car, do not drive into Hendon or Golders Green on Shabbos. That was sort of certain things that we tried to...
The truth is, though, that our boundaries kept on changing.
Of course they did.
because you had
Of course
to just-
they
it was
did.
moving.
I was saying at the beginning.
Yes,
This was
correct.
at the
Well,
beginning.
At the very beginning, we
Yeah.
said you need to wear your couple and keep Shabbos in our
home.
purview.
Yeah.
When we're in sight,
Yeah.
you need to wear your couple and keep Shabbos.
Yeah, but
what you do in your
that
room
changed
thing,
very quickly.
Then that changed,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
slowly, because
Yeah.
you
again,
just have to adapt.
Yeah.
You
It's
realize
like
you're fighting.
we got a
against-
call once from the new school that he went to, which were fantastic. I have to say, if it wasn't for them, like he got his GCSEs, he got A levels, they were incredible. But she called, the student officer there called me at the end of the first year, and she said, I'm calling you because Motti said that we're having prom, at the end of the year, and we would love Motti to join, but he wanted me to speak to you because he's not sure you would be very happy for him to come.
because it's on Friday night.
No. So I said, I'm very happy for him to come if he wants. There's an issue. She said, yeah, but it's Friday night. And I said, oh, well, that, he's not going to leave our house on Friday night. She said, you can't make an exception just this once. And I'm like, it doesn't work that, So those sort of little things, it was like.
How did you manage, let's say, because ultimately we live in a community and people are looking and judging. Was that a big test, that walking along the
I didn't
streets?
care.
Okay, so we're quite relaxed like that. Is that we thought if people are judging us, judge. We knew we had a job to do, and we were very focused on looking after Motti. And we know that people are judging generally, whether they were judging us or not. That couldn't be a factor in what we were doing, so we didn't feel it. We also did have a lot of supportive friends. We've got wonderful friends and wonderful family who continued to support us, love us.
Yeah, no one
include
ever.
him.
We had friends that only invited Motti. Like they would say, we're having friends around. If you guys don't, if Motti doesn't want to come with you guys, but if Motti wants to come, let Motti come.
Yeah, we had a couple who invited him because Motti was very into his music, and they were having Alex Clare round for Shabbos.
Oh, yeah.
So they said, why don't you don't come?
Don't
just
come.
Motti.
Yeah, and he
come."
went.
And he went. He went because he was intrigued to go and meet him, and they sat and they schmoozed, and it was amazing.
So
for
our
him.
friends were really,
It was
really
so
amazing.
important that,
important.
that you had to
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of,
yeah.
you didn't feel that you
Like
were
when
just...
he was growing his hair, I couldn't care less about his hair. I just didn't like it. So I wanted to cut it because I just didn't like the long hair. But eventually I was like, you know what, Motti, enjoy it while you have it, kind of thing. You know, like it came to that point, as Geoffrey was saying, that we just pushed that little bit more.
to make room, to make space for him, because you knew that you didn't want to have walls the whole time.
Yeah, and we wanted him part of our lives, and he wanted to be part of our lives.
Yeah. So look, there were many stages that were very, very painful and very challenging with him growing up in that way. But in terms of people looking at us, and
Couldn't care less.
that was
What about like at that point? So besides for like the Yiddish kind of religion, emotionally,
so he was starting to struggle emotionally as well. So he was starting to develop very, very severe anxiety and panic attacks, and that was related to the school refusal. Often school refusal is connected to anxiety, and he certainly had a lot of social anxiety, and it was to watch him having a panic attack was just heartbreaking.
Horrific.
You know, just sitting on the floor.
They're very scary,
So scary.
Paralyzing.
episodes. Yeah,
Totally paralyzing, and just to be patient and just to
see it, ride it out.
Yeah, ride it out, and to hold them, and to or to let them be, and to reassure them that it will pass.
Yes,
So we learnt techniques, and we were taught techniques, and but in the end,
he was getting them like quite regularly.
Yeah.
I would sit on I remember a few times him being in the kitchen and having a panic attack, and me sitting on the floor, just like facing him and just looking at him, said, "It's okay. It's okay. It's okay." Like constant, like just repetitive. It's okay.
Yes,
By which time his hair was already quite long.
Yeah, so he would
often he'd put his head like near his knees, and his hair was
just
all over.
Mop of hair,
just like a mop.
Or I would get calls from the new school because before he started driving, he was either taking public transport or I was taking him to school and things. So again, he wasn't in control. So the panic attacks would come more often because he had no way out, kind of thing. So I would get a call from the school that he's having a panic, come and pick him up and stuff. And I would have to like literally physically almost bring him to the car because he just couldn't think.
Yeah,
but once he started driving and he felt more in control of the situation, whereas he could escape if he needed to, so they became less and all that sort of thing.
It's also worth mentioning and giving a shout out to a wonderful therapist, Judith Friedman from Bournemouth, who was his therapist just before he went back into the non-Jewish school, which was in Elstree, and she took him on the journey. So she literally picked him up from home, and she took him on the train on the main line and took him to the school.
And had meetings with us in the school. Do you remember? We sat with her in the school
to desensitize him and to show him that he's going to be okay. Because the school had said, get him there, and then we will look after him. And she was the one that made that happen. Without her, he would never have got back into school.
Yeah. And like I said, he got GCSEs and A-levels, which we never thought that was going to happen when everything first started.
Didn't excel, interestingly. So because he was struggling. So at that time he had so much going on. Yeah. He
did really well.
It sounds like
he did really well.
Correct.
Correct.
Considering the anxiety was stopping him from studying and from focusing, and he was really struggling. So he pushed himself through, but he got through with average, not bad grades, but with average grades.
And that was without doing any work.
Yeah. But he did amazingly well to finish school.
Yeah.
And do you think the anxiety was getting worse because he was withdrawing more from life, or not necessarily?
I don't think so. I think that it started to get, by the time he got back into school, it started to get a little better. The worst time was when he was off school. And he didn't know, he didn't have a direction, he didn't have a path, he wasn't in school, he didn't have friends, because he had cut himself off. It wasn't his friends cut him off. In fact, some of them came to visit still and would sort of shout out, would bring him shlachmanas or something like that. But he had taken a conscious decision not to engage with them. So until he started the new school, he had lost touch with his old friends. And apart from one or two members of the family or people who he kept in touch with, there wasn't much social interaction at all. So I think that was the lowest point of the anxiety.
I think also he didn't share a lot of his anxiety with us to an extent. You know, there were times that we thought he's all right, but he wasn't.
He told us afterwards that he had struggled very, very badly, worse than we'd imagined. So we saw it bad, but he said it was worse.
No, really. And that because he just wasn't such a by nature someone who didn't share easily, or you didn't think to really probe too much when he just said.
I don't know. I think he was sensitive to us being from Jews, and he knew that it was upsetting for us that he wasn't following that path. And I think there was a certain amount of, I don't think it was guilt, I don't think that's the right word, but sensitivity to the fact that he wasn't doing what we wanted, and that would be upsetting for us. I think that he probably thought that we didn't understand him, didn't get him.
He definitely thought that.
Didn't get him.
Yeah.
And so what's the point of sharing if you're not going to be able to solve it?
I do believe that was a little bit part of it, is that we wouldn't get it.
You didn't get it because you wouldn't agree with him? Was that what getting meant? Or just you can't understand what panic attack is or anxiety unless you have it?
We don't get his generation, or we don't get, it was a generational thing.
I think he thought that we empathized with his mental health challenges. It was the reason behind the mental health, in terms of the religion and the lack of connection to the community and the wanting to be completely different to the way we had brought him up. I think that was the tension, and how to navigate that. No one really had a good answer.
Yeah. See, something like when we would ask him to wear his kappa, let's say, right? So things like that. And I would say, what's the big deal? Like, I used to use the analogy with him, like, it's just out of respect of where you are. So like Prince Charles, or King Charles now, will put a kappa on his head if he goes to a synagogue. That's just what you do out of respect. And I couldn't understand, I couldn't get the fact that he just wouldn't do it. He was so determined not to do it. And then only recently, when we were talking to him about it, was when he's a bit older and we, that it was a sensory thing for him, that he couldn't have something on his head, but he didn't share that with us. He didn't tell us at the time. So we're struggling with this. Just put the kippah on your head. What is the big deal?
And for some reason he couldn't share.
He couldn't tell us. Actually, I can't do it.
Stress for him to put something on his head.
Just to put it on his head.
He said, I don't wear a cap either. He said, I can't put anything on my head.
But he only told us that 3 years ago,
probably within the year
before he died. I only knew that then. So I was like, if you would have told me, like, we wouldn't have driven you crazy about it, or I might have been able to understand more.
We'd been giving so much, and we'd been moving what was our original boundaries so much. And so why would we not have done that? But
right.
Was it a challenge also to sort of balance the rest of the family and not try to sort of, you can't spend everything on him?
Correct. Huge.
And that's quite a hard challenge.
It was very, very challenging for both of them. We have a son and a daughter, and it was very, very difficult for both of them in their own ways.
And for you to know, like, we've got other children, we can't spend the whole time going,
it's
talking.
Not all about Motti.
Yeah. And for them also to see someone, it's to see someone in their house who's not religious anymore, and that they've got religious friends, and they have to go to shul, but he didn't, and they had to do they
have to keep mitzvahs, and they do, and all this.
And he's sort of avoiding a lot.
He's avoiding it and getting away with it in their eyes to some extent. It's also very difficult, and I appreciate that for them it was very difficult.
So I know that sort of like, what year did he then move away, Motti? Because then that became a bit easier probably
after school. So after school, he got his A levels, and at 18, turning 19, he moved to New York. He decided, that's it, I'm out of London. I can't do this.
He asked us. He said,
and he was an American citizen because of me, so he had no issues moving to America. And the truth is, we were quite happy for him to move to New York, because New York, it's New York City.
That could also the family who are here sort of relax a bit, because it's not.
Happened to be that he moved to New York when my daughter went to SEM, so it was quite nice actually for our youngest, because he had the house to himself. and he was able to just like
And maybe for Motti also to sort of
absolutely.
get out of the confines of northwest London.
And from our perspective, we said if he wants to choose anywhere to go, I mean, to go to a place where there's 1 million Jews, sort of 10% of the city are Jewish, he's going to come across Jews wherever he comes, and maybe that will influence him in some way.
Do you remember the story with his landlord? He had a landlord called Joe or something like that, and he walks in Motti in his long hair and everything, and this Joe is this Hasidish guy.
He's calling himself Joe. Motti did not change his name. Motti never changed his name.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In fact, he trademarked his name when he went to America. He said, I'm going to be, because there was a quirk of the system, but this was him, is that he said he couldn't get credit, so he couldn't open up a bank account. But he worked out, I don't even know how he worked out, but if he would trademark his name, a trademark counts for credit score in America. Mm-hmm. So he said, I'm going to be Motti, the graphic designer. So he said, will you help me apply? So we applied, and we got one rejection back, and he said, oh no, they've rejected it. I said, they haven't rejected it, they've just asked some questions. I said, let's answer the questions. We'll look at the legislation, and we did it. And we sat on the phone and we worked out, and in the end they accepted it. And he was the only Motti graphic designer in the whole of America. From 2018, and that expires in 2028.
Oh, really?
It was. I mean, he got headhunted when he went to America. He was working. He was working as a graphic designer. Yeah. He was working for a music label, and it was quite cool. He loved it. He loved it.
So would you say he was happier there? In America.
He was very happy in America.
He was much happier in America. Yeah. He still suffered. The anxiety was always there.
Really?
Always there. The anxiety was always part. Like the first thing was, I need a therapist in New York. Mm-hmm. Get myself a therapist, get myself medicated, like get myself, he needed all of that to
It's quite interesting that he himself was like pushing for it, because a lot of people, especially who find it hard to express themselves, wouldn't naturally say, I want a therapist.
No.
Yes, he wanted,
and I think he also, he was on medication as well. So he needed the medication to keep it at bay.
Yeah.
By that point.
And he knew that.
He knew that. So and he knew that he had a reasonably functioning life with the medication, and he didn't without it. So so he had to have someone, and I think the way it worked was that the psychiatrist insisted on having a therapist. So those two together was just a package which he needed.
And what was your were you talking to him regularly?
Yeah.
Weekly, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of us would definitely be speaking to him weekly.
Yeah, we always kept in touch. We always knew what he was doing. We always know who he was. Sometimes he'd just send us a WhatsApp. We knew where he was all the time. We'd exchange music videos. He'd send me some crazy person playing the piano at 3,000 miles an hour, and isn't that amazing? Or a table tennis video or something like that.
He connected academically in music, and I connected with him with food. He would always send me. He loved to cook. He would send me what he made or what he did, and so we tried to keep the connection. It wasn't always straightforward, and we fought. I have to say, I fought with him because we didn't see things eye to eye. And Motti also, one thing about Motti is that he wouldn't let things go until he was happy with the result. So you could be on the phone with him till 3 a.m.
Oh, really?
and be like, Motti, okay, I get it. No, you don't get it. You don't see it. You don't see where I'm coming from. Yes, Motti. Okay.
And that's back to the quirkiness of his character. Just not your typical run in the mill in many ways.
Yeah.
Correct.
But again, it was the anxiety that was pushing it. It was fueling it, because a normal, it's not the right word, but an average person would just say, okay, fine, good night, Ma. It's 1 a.m. Let's go to bed. We can bring this up tomorrow.
But he couldn't have closure on that.
Couldn't do that. Couldn't do it.
It was a dangerous combination of being super intelligent and a very strong verbal debater, and being a perfectionist and having anxiety. It wasn't a great combination for letting things go.
A lot.
Yeah.
That's what a lot.
Yeah.
And do you think that sort of combination ultimately led to him doing what he did?
Very, very difficult to say. He'd struggled with this for the best part of 13 years. So the first 13 years of his life were reasonably run of the mill, and the second 13 were far from, and everything changed. He'd gone through many, many changes, and he'd gone through lots of anxiety and lots of challenges and the school refusal and losing a bunch of friends and gaining new friends. He'd never once ever mentioned anything about suicide or anything about suicide ideation or taking his life or anything of that sort of harm. No self-harm, and even dangerous activities were not his thing at all. Because he was on medication for a number of years, he would stay away. He never drank. He never took drugs, as far as we're aware. He would say, "I'm never touching drugs."
Really?
When he was in the music industry, he said, "I don't want to go into the full music industry because I know they've got negative behaviors and I don't want to be part of that." So there was no...
He was an upstanding human being. Yeah. That's the thing with Motti. Like, it wasn't like, you think of kids who go off the derech, or kids who think, they're doing this, they're doing that. Motti was an upstanding person. He believed he had his... Huh?
We're not using that term.
What?
Off the derech.
Oh, sorry. On his own derech. On his own derech.
Yeah, we don't like that term.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Someone once said to me, off the derech, he said, if so many people are going off the derech, maybe it's our derech which isn't wide enough, which I think is also very profound.
Yes,
profound.
Agreed. He was on his own derech and that sort of thing, but he was, that in a way, I think that's why he struggled with us so much with Frumkeit, because he said, I'm a good person. Like, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm a good person. Why do you have such a problem with that? I'm not.
Yes, look at the whole picture.
Look at the whole picture and not just.
Yeah,
which is again a bit
religious.
of a black and white way of looking at things. And it makes a certain amount of sense, There's one element that's not so good, but 99% is all fine. Scrub the 1% and the thing, but it's not
exactly.
If you take religion out of the equation, which is what he did, everything else, we had every right, and we were.
And I was very proud.
Very proud of him.
Did he feel that you were very proud, or did he always see that religion got in the way?
Yeah.
So this was a very long debate that we had with him.
From
later,
a good year.
A good year. About a year and a half before he passed away. So we agreed to go to some family therapy. Mm-hmm. So we had a family therapist, a lady who neither of us knew, that there were various conditions. He didn't want anyone in the community. He said that it couldn't work with someone in America because of insurance purposes. They won't speak to anyone in the UK. So it had to be someone out of the community.
And in the UK.
In the UK. Who we found a very nice lady, never met her. It was always on Zoom, online, very, very nice person. And we would have long debates for an hour, which would be bizarre because that was also, because it was weekly, that would often also be our time to chat with him. So we'd spend the first 5 minutes or the last 5 minutes, "Hi Motti, how are you?" laughing and joking and things like that, and then the other 55 minutes screaming at each other, because he said, and that was only because he'd said to us, the reason he wanted to start therapy, it was his idea, was he said that we have lots of conversations and they're very nice, and we chat and we're relaxed and we laugh and we joke. He said, but we're not really getting to the nub of the matter. He said, and I want to talk about the really difficult issues. And again, that was him. I said, I want to resolve those. He said, I want to try and work through those together with someone. And that's what we did.
There are times that I literally would end the session and I don't know, it was really hard. Like, I'd been punched in the stomach.
Totally exhausting.
Yeah, totally exhausting. And then enough that, like, the week after I would say, Geoffrey, you do it. Like, I can't. Because it felt, he had a way of thinking that the way he was raised, he had his own sense of what it was. And I don't know, we saw it
sounded like, in a way,
differently.
you were being very good. You were accommodating quite a lot, but that wasn't enough. Was that not enough for him?
There was a difference for him. He didn't, there was the difference between acceptance and tolerating. He felt we were just tolerating him. He wanted full acceptance.
So I asked him, what is that? What does that mean, the difference between acceptance and tolerance? And then I spent, of course, before I asked him, I'd spent a lot of time myself researching and thinking about it and looking at definitions and trying to say you're wrong. But actually, in the purest sense, what he was saying is that acceptance means that you love me and you agree with what I do and you believe that's the best thing for me. Mm-hmm. If you just love me and you say, that's okay, you do you, but I can't agree with you, that
You're
was
tolerating him.
tolerating.
Right, which in many people's books would be acceptance.
Correct.
So not
Exactly.
for him.
Not for
Not for
him.
Motti.
Not for him. And we would debate that
And we
for
struggled
hours.
with that because I would say to him, Motti, if I follow what you're saying and accept you and give you that, then what I'm doing is how can I say that? And what I'm doing is wrong then. Because
Yes,
I'm
yeah.
accepting the way
I'm
you're
agreeing,
behaving.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
agreeing with your behavior, but I live a different life than that.
Yeah.
So it was a
So
He
very,
wanted something that you really couldn't really give him.
Yeah.
Correct. That last...
That
That
little, but
last
it's a
little
big,
bit.
that makes it, for
Yeah.
him, it was very
Correct.
significant. A lot of people
Massive.
say, what's,
That's right.
ultimately it's
That's
the
right.
same.
And I said to him, I
Massive.
said, Motti, we can live with that. And we've lived with, we've come to accept so many things that we never in a million years thought that we would have to accept and
be okay
want to accept.
with,
And we
and-
are okay with it. And somehow he said, that's just not enough.
Yeah, for him
And
it wasn't
so we
enough.
were trying to work through ways of,
But there's no real way at that point
it's very, very difficult.
because you can't force yourself to do something to agree to something that you can't
Correct.
agree with.
What,
Yeah.
what we were trying to say is that it is okay for our son to live a non-Jewish life, and we agree with that, and we're happy with it. That was very, very difficult. That was a point whereby how could we honestly say to ourselves that
Well,
that was
we
something
couldn't.
that we were okay
Yes,
with?
yeah.
We couldn't. We couldn't.
And was that like devastating, do you think, for him?
Must
Of
have
course,
been.
must have been.
Yes.
Must have been
Must have been.
huge.
Yeah.
Huge, because to him it was, that means you don't love me unconditionally. And we did.
Mm-hmm.
But to him we didn't.
Because it wasn't
He
everything.
couldn't- yeah.
It was
Yeah.
that just
Couldn't
that
give
little.
him what he needed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that broke me. But I live my life as a firm Jew and I can't do that.
Yeah.
And yes, you're my son. And yes, I'll always support you. And you're always welcome in my home. And you always have a place. But we couldn't give him
Yeah.
what he
And we were proud of him,
needed.
and we were
I was
happy of
so
him.
proud
and
of
we,
him.
And we wanted him to thrive, and we understood that he was doing what made him happy, and that made us happy.
Mm-hmm.
But it was too difficult for us to say. We hadn't got there yet, for
Yeah.
sure.
for sure.
If we would have done at some point, maybe. And we were still discussing it. But when he took his own life, but until that point, we weren't agreeing to say that.
Do you feel like there was like a lot of conversations that you would have wanted to have with him about this and could have, or do you feel we could only go so far on that?
We exhausted. We went round and round in circles, and we had many of the same conversations.
Yeah. It was
So
constant.
I don't think there's a lot that was unsaid in terms of lifestyles and religion and things like that. Look, when someone goes, there's always things that you wish you
The
could have
what
said,
ifs,
and
yeah.
the what ifs, and the what would have happened as things developed, and
Yes,
what
yeah.
would have happened. But generally, we don't look back like that.
Yeah.
Like we know, like every family is different, every is unique, and then sometimes there's clear signs. Sometimes there isn't so much of Motti. It doesn't look like there were such clear signs that he was going to do what he was going to do.
No, and in fact, look, I've read scientific studies afterwards, and unfortunately, it's scary to say it, and I'm sorry for anyone because it is a difficult thing even to verbalize. But just under 50% of people decide to take their own lives within about 10 minutes, and 10 minutes earlier they hadn't decided what to do. It doesn't mean that they didn't have suicide ideation. In Motti's case, he didn't have that, or at least if he did, he didn't
Right.
express
So
it.
exactly. I think Motti definitely, I do believe that Motti it wasn't a spur of the moment decision. I do believe that Motti thought it through because of who he was, his personality. There was no way
He's
Motti-
quite calculated.
He was
and
calculated.
totally
clever and
calculated.
what-
Yeah.
He
And
wrote letters. He put it all on paper. Like
he
there
put
was
certain
nothing.
things in place.
Yeah, there was
Mhm.
certain things in place. There was nothing there that to say that he did this and regretted it.
Mhm.
That type of thing. Like, oh my gosh, there was to me when I got that letter, he'd planned it. That letter came to me 7 hours after the fact. on an iMessage.
Really?
Yeah.
So he had pre-planned the message
That's how
to
you
come. That's
knew.
how I found
That's
it.
how you, wow.
It was Tisha B'Av after Chatzos.
Do you think he timed it for Tisha B'Av?
A lot of people have asked
we
that. We
don't
don't know.
He knew it was Tisha B'Av because I had told him.
But whether he planned that day because it was Tisha B'Av and he thought, oh, they're
We're
going to be sad
mourning
anyway
anyway.
that day.
I don't know, but it was
He didn't
Tisha
refer to
B'Av.
Tisha B'Av.
Mm-hmm. You got that message and that's how
I
you
got
knew.
it on my phone. Yeah.
He sent 5 messages simultaneously to 5 people who were close to him.
Mm-hmm.
And they all pinged at the same time.
Yeah.
Did you, when you saw that message, did you realize straight away it was true, or did you think
Okay,
maybe
so-
he's just saying it trying to get attention or something like that?
I knew it was true. I didn't know. So I only read the first line because the first line basically said, if you're reading this, I've made that decision. And Geoffrey wasn't home. He was at Mincha. So I was home by myself. And I just screamed. I was surprised that all my neighbors didn't come out and hear me. I just screamed and ran into the house. And what was going through my head was, okay, people have tried and they get their stomachs pumped. They fail. All these sort of things. Also, because we didn't know where he was. Because I called his girlfriend. She didn't know where he was either. And so we were trying to figure out where he was. And I think in those 2 hours that it took to actually find out where he was, I was convinced that they would find him, they would pump his stomach, and he'd be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And and then reading the letter furthermore, that he had basically, it had already been done. There was no way he was going to send the letter if it wasn't done already. So that was...
Yeah, but until we got the call that actually the police had found him and confirmed that he had passed away, there was always that little
you
bit
just
of
hope
Yeah.
with hope.
Yeah.
I mean,
and remember, it's Tisha B'Av and we're fasting and it's a stressful day and it's a sad day and our mind is just all over the place. So from
nothing can ever prepare anyone for something like that.
No.
And especially maybe harder because you didn't see
Absolutely.
any
It was
signs.
so-
It was like a bolt out of...
It was so shocking. It was so shocking. And it was just, your world is upside down forever.
Yeah. I mean, it just shows me what a person of upstanding person that he was and a good person that he was, because he did 2 things that he thought about, which I thought were unbelievable. To me, even at the time when we were finding it out, is that he went to a hotel because he didn't want anyone to find him or anything. And he booked a room for 2 nights so that the cleaning crew wouldn't find him. That he was sparing them, that they would not go into the room and find him. And he wanted the police to find him. That was his thing. And he also left his ID next to his body so that none of us or his girlfriend or anyone would have to go and have to ID his body. And I think that that's
sensitive and
pure
sensitive
chesed.
so that it makes it even more tragic in a certain way.
And again, also for us, that he wasn't from, and he could have made very different choices, but he wrote that he knew that his parents would want him to have a Jewish burial. And he gave us that permission to bring him home.
Because,
who knows what could have happened? Even
truly,
the idea.
Truly miraculous. My brother, who lives in Florida, he flew out straight away. Motti was in Texas at that time. Austin, Texas. Austin, Texas is pretty much a desert of Yiddishkeit. There is a Chabad there who are lovely, but were totally unprepared for this sort of thing. And the thought of trying to get a suspicious death, which is what it is, and dealing with the authorities and getting a mace back from Austin, Texas to London was a route probably never done before, and hopefully for everyone else never to be done again. And it was hugely challenging and amazing that actually he died Tuesday afternoon, and we had the Levaya before Shabbos.
Wow.
So people were
But it's the people
incredible.
along the way as well. I got a phone call from a friend that said, because they had to bring him from Austin to Dallas, and I got a phone call from a friend to say that her brother lives in Dallas, and then he phoned me to say, and I've known him since I'm about 14, and he called me and he said, "Don't worry, Jenny, I'm doing Shmira. He's being looked after." And for us to know that there's somebody that I know personally who's sitting there with him, looking after him, making sure that he's going to get home safely, that meant everything.
Mm-hmm.
That meant everything.
Yeah, but as Jenny said before, the permission that he gave us to release him and for us to bury him was huge.
It was almost like a parting gift.
Parting gift, because if he would have said anything like give my body to science or cremate me or anything, they wouldn't have released the body.
Yes,
they only did it because he had specifically given
He'd
permission.
written it. It was in the letter.
Written it. It was indisputable. We could have been fighting in courts for months to get that body released.
I mean, it's a modicum of comfort with given the thing, but it shows him right to the end. You have that.
He was a mensch.
Yeah.
He was a mensch. He loved us.
Do you think he ever realised what a mensch he was?
I hope so. I think he did. I think, but that was his whole argument with us. I'm a good person.
Mm-hmm.
I do good things. I'm a good person. I'm not a bad person.
I'm a good person. I love you. Just love me for who I am.
Yeah.
That's
Did
all
you
he
think
wanted.
he realised how much people did love him?
No.
Okay, so that was, of all the calculations that he made
During the Shiva, we discussed it.
Yeah, of all the calculations that he made pre-dying, there is absolutely no way that he could calculate how much it would affect so many people. The family and his friends and his girlfriends and his former classmates. To lose you don't lose touch emotionally with a classmate just because you don't speak to them.
Yes, yeah.
And to know that, I mean, thank God, I'm in my 50s and none of my classmates have died. To be in your early 20s and to have a classmate who's died and taken their own life is hugely traumatic, and was very, very difficult for a lot of them to come to terms with. It was, I don't think Motti for a second thought that anyone cared. The number of people who turned up at the Levaya, it was the middle of the summer, loads of people were away, and it was Friday afternoon and short notice, and it was packed. The whole street was just packed.
It's almost like if he would have been there to see it, he wouldn't have been...
He would have said, what are you all doing here?
Yeah.
What on earth?
Every night at the Shiva, they're like, okay, tomorrow might be quieter, because people are going away. It was after Tish B'Av, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
The house did not stop for 1 second. 1 second.
From the minute he died?
From the minute
from
he died.
Tisha B'Av.
Exactly, because we had 2 days that we weren't sitting Shiva, but we were still
our neighbours first came in, they after Tish B'Av, they said, we were really confused. They said, because suddenly it looked like you were having a party or something. On Tish B'Av.
Coming in and out.
Loads and loads of people.
It's just like an outpouring of love for Motti.
For Motti, for us.
For
such a feeling of loss for him, such a feeling of love for him. He missed that by a mile.
Why do you think he did miss it? Because he didn't want to see it?
I think he rejected before being rejected.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was his big thing. Like, I'm going to reject you guys so that I don't have to deal with the rejection.
Yeah.
Because you'll reject me because I'm not from.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He assumed that people didn't want anything to do with him, which was just not true.
Yeah. Not true at all.
Yeah, it wasn't true whilst he was alive, and it wasn't true the moment he died.
His family loved him. His cousins loved him. Everyone, they just, he was quirky. He was Motti. Everyone knew,
that he didn't, was too...
I think that part of his calculation, rightly or wrongly, I'm guessing here, obviously, but that it was, I can sort things out and I'm going to go and everyone will get over it and it's not, everyone will be all right. Mm-hmm. People will be a bit upset, but it'll be okay. And he couldn't have been further from the truth. The number of people whose lives he touched, even from years before, and not to mention ours and our other kids, just huge. I mean, enormous tragedy.
But I think our biggest take, and especially for me, it doesn't get easier. Whatever anyone says, it gets, I don't know if it gets harder, if it just gets more, you don't want time to pass, because then that means it's further away.
Is there a time when you wake up in the morning and think it's a nightmare, but he's going to be alive and Motti's here and it couldn't have happened?
Sometimes
maybe at the
I've had
beginning?
really intense dreams that he's there, that he's still alive, and I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, is
Reality.
this is our truth.
Yeah.
This is our truth. But I think that both of us, and we've made a conscious choice to live, to not let the grief overwhelm us. Yeah, there are bad days and there are worse days, but there are good days. And we can't, I couldn't let the grief overtake me, because I wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be in my bed. I'd be curled up in a ball, and it's not fair to anyone. It's not fair to myself. It's not fair to Geoffrey. It's not fair to my kids. And I think that we need to know that he was part of our life, and we will always have him, but we need to continue living.
We have slightly different experiences and slightly different feelings here. And we've discussed this, is that for me, it's hugely painful, but it is better. It's not like it was.
Better for
it's better for
him
me.
and for you?
No, sorry. I feel better than I did in the first weeks and months. It is starting to get easier. The first few weeks and months, I wasn't sleeping properly, and totally consumed by the grief. And I have a busier day. I have a job which requires full-time attention. I have communal responsibilities. I have other things which are going on. I've got obviously Jenny and the other kids. And
you're you can't put life on hold.
Forced to, and that was where what we have in common is that we both made a conscious decision. We didn't want it to. We've seen people in our lives where grief totally overtook them, and it's all encompassing and it's overwhelming, but somehow you've got to find strength to push through. I read once, quite beautifully, it was a meaningful analogy for me, is that you will always have the scar, but a deep cut starts to heal, and sometimes it bleeds whilst it's healing, and sometimes it stops, and then eventually it becomes a scar. And I think we're in that stage. It's not quite become a scar yet, but certainly the bleeding is less for me.
And Jenny, for you, it's a bit harder because your connection to Motti was a bit different also.
Yeah. I don't know. I am finding it more difficult. I think that, I don't know. I don't know why. I think it's
a mother and a son is
it's also when good things happen, which is Baruch Hashem, what we've had in the last year. We've had our son get married. He's had a baby. We had the good things. It's that he's not there to share it.
Yes.
I think
that's when you miss. That's when sometimes the simchas create sometimes the greatest pain, because there's the void. Where is Motti? He should really be here now.
He should be sharing that simcha with us, and I think that's where I feel that, God willing, we will see so much more and we will experience more, and he's missing that, and that makes me,
Do you ever feel a bit angry with him? Like, had he known everyone would love him?
I don't feel anger. I feel frustration sometimes. But not anger. I think that because he was so...
It was so conscious.
Yeah.
His decision was so conscious.
Yeah.
It wasn't...
we said, it wasn't
a surprise
spur of the moment.
us.
Yeah.
It was a massive shock
for
him. It was not a shock.
He knew what he was doing.
However long, and we don't know how long he planned this for, whether it was
all planned
days
out.
or weeks. He knew it. He thought about it.
He'd researched it. He knew exactly what he was going to do. He knew exactly.
But as you said, that one massive miscalculation.
Yeah.
I think that's such a powerful point also to sort of, to those people that might be listening or also be very, disillusioned with life and people are going to sometimes think, oh, what's the point of it all? No
Absolutely.
one's going to miss me. Well,
It's so wrong. So wrong. We're community and we're family. And that family comes together in good times and unfortunately in bad times. And we hope that people are there in between as well. But if anyone is contemplating this and thinking that they won't be missed, not in our community.
Not on a chance.
Just not possible. It's just not
Not a
possible. The ramifications and the ripple effects were huge, and I wish he would have known that.
Mm-hmm. Do you think the community were like supportive to you after in the ensuing months? Did they help?
It's difficult because our friends were incredible. We've got an amazing group of friends. I'm so blessed and grateful. But you don't want your friends to understand. That's the weird thing. You don't want them to understand. And so I think for me now where I'm up to is that I feel like I need community of people who understand. And I think that because you don't want to burden your friends. Your friends are here to listen and they do listen. But it gets to a point that I realize, you don't want to burden your friends with all the things you're going through. And if, we have a community of people who understand it really, I have fortunately, I do have one or two friends that have been through situations we've been rocks for each other because you don't have to even say very much, but they just get it.
Yes.
When most of us are born, almost everyone, born with two parents alive, and in the fullness of time, unfortunately, the likelihood is they will pass away during a child's lifetime. So you're able to share grief to some extent when it is a natural grief of a parent passing away, because there are enough people who have gone through it, and if not, most people are going to go through it. To lose a child is something most people are not going to go through, and thank God most people are not going through. So it's difficult to share it with those people. It's painful, it's uncomfortable to talk about it. Other people, mostly actually for other people, it's uncomfortable to speak about, and they don't want to say the wrong thing, so they end up saying nothing, which is fine as well. I'd prefer you said nothing than said something stupid.
At the beginning was,
I'm sure you've heard some very painful things, not because people did do
or, that's so nice to see you at a simcha. Okay. And everyone means well.
Yeah, everyone means well. And you don't know what's going to be. The interesting thing is two people can say exactly the same sentence to you. For one person, it's, oh, that's really nice. And the other person is like, ooh,
it's often depends on
triggering.
If they know
the situation and what it is.
If they can connect to it.
Yes, it's a very, very sensitive and complex area to communicate with anyone. So it's difficult to say how much we expected the community to be supportive. As Jenny says, our friends have been amazing. Our Rav has been amazing. In terms of communal organisation, there are some things available, but it's been limited and nothing that we've connected to yet.
Yeah, because like a friend of mine said, there's lots of tremendous organisations for, let's say, kids that are very ill and parents that are struggling with disabilities and that type of thing, and but not so much for those that lose children.
Correct. And there's a very, very close connection, automatic connection between many parents who have lost children, just because you get it. And people's experiences are not the same. I've had the fortunate privilege of meeting Rav Doron Perez a few times in the last couple of years, and he obviously lost a son. Circumstances couldn't be more different. But when he gives me a hug, it goes right through me, and we feel each other's pain. Yeah. We've both lost children. And I don't think it's one-sided. That's there's a connection there.
Yes,
and there are with many, many other people who we've met. But I do believe there are many more who we haven't met who might be struggling alone, and that's very, very sad and painful. And we feel their pain.
What would you say to parents that are listening to this and now thinking that some of their child is unhappy and they're concerned. What do you think is like the most important thing that parents can give to their children who may be a bit different to the way they are?
Okay, so the first thing you can always give them is love and connection. Everyone deserves that. Time. Everyone deserves time, and the value of giving your kids time and connection, time alone, is totally priceless. After that, if you are more concerned that people can keep some sort of brief memory cards of things which make them happy, give them a quick dopamine effect. There might be a song or a picture of their pet or a niece or a nephew, something which gives them knowing their triggers. They're things like that. So there can be therapeutic help which they might want to seek, and get help. Get help, because you can't predict who it's going to affect and who it's not. You can think you can guess who are more likely, but actually you really need help and support and consistency.
I think that word is very important, like connection, because if maybe in the community people really looked out for each other and there was care, then it's incumbent on all of us to sort of to think, people might be thinking, well, what can I do? I think this is what people should be doing.
We know that the schools have it difficult because they've got hundreds and hundreds of students. But if a school is concerned, or if a teacher sees something that they're not, to have people on site, to help these sort of kids that are able to, be there for that very purpose. Yeah. Because that's why we were saying before that I don't blame, Hazmat, and I don't blame them. But if they would have had some sort of protocol or some sort of thing that they could have someone to guide and help and do, and that is what they're there to do. Now they do.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
So we haven't been part of it for a while, but I think that's really important, because then that can, again, it's the prevention, it's the before, it's
the prevention.
It's the prevention, it's the taking,
and just noticing people
just
around us and just seeing and being able to. I think English people maybe sometimes find it quite difficult. To sort of, we like to sort of, it's not our business. We don't get involved. Maybe we mean it for well, or sometimes it's just the easier option. But actually, I think what this tells us is no, go out and say, is everything okay? You don't look your normal self, or you're struggling, and even be willing to say, have you had thoughts about not wanting to live and stuff like that? But this is hard for many people.
Again, the science papers are saying that no one takes their own life because they were asked, are you thinking about taking your own life? Or very few people. It's a minority. It's a myth.
It's a myth that we're too scared to talk about this.
They hadn't thought about it. And suddenly
even I told someone today that I met someone on the way here, and he said, well, I said, we're doing a podcast and we're going to talk about something, really important to talk about. And I told him what we're going to talk about. And he said, but are you sure you're not planting ideas into people's minds? And that is just...
you can't.
It's a myth that still keeps...
exactly, because you think, a person's going to think about that. But the answer
on the contrary, I think what you are doing
here
here is doing exactly the opposite. You are, probably for one of the first times certainly in this country, you are saying, no, we're not going to stay quiet, and we're going to talk about this, because unfortunately you're not the only ones.
No, exactly.
Many parents are struggling with,
and it's important that it's spoken about, so that if we can prevent, or if we can help and save another family from going through this, and it's who knows, who knows.
I mean, you asked about what else people can do. I think another thing which has been really powerful for us is just people who send a text or a message, just checking in.
Yeah.
Those three words, and I've tried to do it to other people as well, is that you haven't heard from someone, you heard they're going through a bit of a rough time, you don't have to say anything else. Don't try and overthink. Don't try and ask them too many questions.
No, because they're not going to answer. Just
you don't need to be a therapist.
We're not.
Just to be sort of caring. It's the care.
It's different, and we ask, and they phone, and when people who know less, is everything okay? Particularly the first 6 months, a year, But we all see people we know people who are going through difficult times. Someone's not well, or they're having difficulty at work, or whatever it is. Just checking in.
Yes, it's that feeling that that people are not alone.
Correct.
They're not alone.
Correct.
And I think that a lot of the time, and I could be wrong. I could maybe misspeaking, but I think a lot of the time that people do take their own life because they feel alone, because they feel that, like Geoffrey said before, better off without me. No one's going to really, I've got everything under control. Everyone will move on. It'll be fine.
Yeah,
but it's not. It's not fine. It's you're not alone. You're never alone, and there's always people that care, and I think that's a big a big point.
100%. I think it's such a vital point, both for a person who's thinking about these things to realize you are not alone, and there's so much love out there. Maybe you don't always sort of see it, but
feel it because you're going through your hard time, and you feel like no one's really there, and no one sees me, and I think you don't understand me, you don't understand what I'm going through. No.
I think every trip to Israel is a microcosm of this. You see people and they start shouting at you, screaming at you, and then at the end it's Shabbat Shalom, and they give you a big hug.
You don't know what they're going through, and
it doesn't matter what's going on at the end. There's a deep connection.
Yes.
Between everyone within.
But I think it's also up to the community, as you're saying. It's those sort of texts, or just seeing,
just
wanting to actually
keep your eyes open.
Yes,
for people who are struggling.
Yes,
and it's not difficult to find people who are struggling, unfortunately.
Especially nowadays.
People have got all sorts of struggles, and just to be a little bit sensitive to it is incredibly powerful.
Mm-hmm. It's like I see it like when you go shopping or something like that, and someone's aggravated or whatever. You're like, just step back. Don't feed into the aggravation. Just, you don't know what she's going through at home. And my grandmother used to say a really good say. She says, "No one knows what's in the pot, only the spoon that stirs it."
Yes,
and that's the reality. And you just have to keep treating people with sensitivity, and keep treating people with kindness. And as long as we treat people with kindness, you say thank you. Like we went to K-Trade today, and you walk out, you say thank you to everyone. All the workers that have been working there. Why not? You don't know what they're going through. You say thank you. They feel that someone's
for sure.
Someone's noticed that they're standing there. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important, that we just all say thank you when you're walking out of a store, when you're thanking the cashier, or just be kind. I think that's.
I need to give both of you a big thank you, because coming on here talking about this is, it's unimaginable, the pain, but it's almost like you've taken that, and you're here, and people are going to be listening to this and watching this and feel they're not alone, but also that's we're taking a tragedy, but we're also trying to take some positives and give goodness from it.
Correct.
Which, from the sounds of Motti, would be the type of thing that he would do.
Yeah.
He wanted us to live our fullest life.
Yeah.
He absolutely. That's what he wanted us to do. And that pushes me as well. And Emunah as well.
Emunah is our biggest thing.
It's given us a lot of strength.
Yeah.
That understand the Kodesh Baruch who's got a plan, and it's not what any of us wanted. It's not what any of us thought about. But we've still got a job to do.
Yeah. And we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are inspiring people, and that's a cliche that often used, but to be able to sit there and say that is amazing. And thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
No, it's a pleasure. I'm just going to mention a couple of numbers for anyone who either is concerned about themselves or concerned about someone they know. So if you're a young person from 11 to 24, you can message into J18 on 07860 058 823, or you can call 0800 915 4646. And for adults, you have the helpline 0330 127 3333. Thanks, everyone.